Hey, it's David with the Plant Bar, and today we're going to be redoing the annual color in our bathtub. This is one of the signature pieces that we actually found in the desert here at the Plant Bar. We drug it up, shoved it full of plants, and we've been doing that ever since. So it's beginning of April here in the desert southwest, and it's time to switch out the flowers. You can see the kale has all flowered, it's stretched, so it's time. The alyssum's getting a little peak too. So we had, for the winter, we had kale, ornamental kale, purple and white. We had some pansies, which are still doing okay in the center, and then we did alyssum around the outside. So I'm going to take this stuff out, and while I'm doing that, I'll just give you an idea. So some of the secrets of having a very, very happy flower arrangement in any pot or whatever is to have active soil, have a lot of biological things moving. Worm castings work well. This is our worm farm, so there's tons of worms down there. And then you want to fertilize consistently right after you've got the roots set. So that's what I do here. First step in this is I gotta take all this stuff out. So I am going to try to save some of the soil if I can. That one. All right, so I'm going to toss this away. So in my soil, I want to, we're going to keep the kale and the other things, because like I said, this thing's full of earthworms. I haven't watered the plants for a few days to let it dry out, because I haven't watered the plants. I'm gonna cut, and then I haven't watered the plants for a few days because I knew I was gonna be switching this out. So all the worms have settled down in the bottom. So I'm gonna go back a little bit of the soil that was lost, and I'm not gonna fuss too much with the with this stuff, because the earthworms will help it decompose. Fancy tool here. Should only use tools what they're intended for. I'm not sure where my little shovel went, so we'll just use this for now. So I'm going to turn the existing soil in here and get it brought up. And anytime I see root masses, I will remove those. Yeah, so the minute I got down into the wet soil, worms start popping up. So we're just going to take. You always want, every time you switch out your flowers, you want to turn the soil. And I do have a drainage hole in here. Down in the bottom. Here's the drain. This never gets too wet. It's like the jackpot. Okay, now that I got that side, bring all this over there. All right, then I'll go back. I want to make sure I mix this really good. And I want to bring all the active guys, all the biological things that are on the bottom. I want to make sure I get them up and then, you know, sort through and get any of this other stuff out of there. Okay, I've got all the existing soil mixed up pretty good. And like I said, I'm gonna leave the organic stuff in there. And so what you want to do when you're starting a bed, especially a bed of annuals, herbs, you know, you want rich soil. So we recommend using, and we'll drop some links down of some products that we recommend using when starting an annual bed or pieces for a veggie bed. There's a couple differences in the veggie bed and an annual bed. This one's just annuals, and some of the basics are the same. And so we want to have a good active living soil. What that means is that if the soil that you get, I'd recommend a product called Worm Gold. And you're going to put in some worm castings, and the worm castings with some inert, you know, with some stuff to eat on and some moisture will help create some earthworms, some worms to help feed on the soil, make it living. I recommend a soil made by Fox Farm. They have lots of mycorrhizae and other biological materials that help make the soil alive. One of the key things, if you're purchasing soil, let me get some of this other roots up. I would not recommend buy one that has fertilizer already in it. We want to add the fertilizer that we want to it, and so the key ingredients are, we want an organic, living soil, preferably one if it has worm castings in it. It should also have mycorrhizae and some other microorganisms that you can't really see, but they're in there and they help to activate the soil. What that does is it makes your flowers or even your veggies as a starter, that makes them very, very happy. And then, you know, depending on what you've got in the soil, you would change up some of the earthworms are up here flapping around because they haven't seen the sun for a while. You know, depending on what you plant, you supplement the fertilizer for the plants. Don't just buy the soil with fertilizer in it, just use it. So, yeah, we'll post down below some different types of soils, you know, that are somewhat readily available across the U.S. that you get. One of the things, the soil is difficult to ship, just that, you know, the big bags of soil are not necessarily small. So sometimes, for us as a tip, if you can get it locally, it might be more cost effective. We're happy to help you in any way. That might be a cost effective way. So organic, living soil is very, very important. And so that's how this soil started. And then this soil here that I used is rich. That's got a little bit of perlite, super white, a little bit of added perlite because there's this weird ceramic bottom. There is a drain, but I wanted to add more. And then I used lava cinders, which is the same as perlite and aerating and adding oxygen. So the main reason that our plants look so good and stuff is that it's got a lot of mycorrhizae and worms and living organisms, and that's what helps. Found one. There was a whole bunch right there. One of my favorite things to do is dig for worms. So anyways, this thing, very important to have very happy plants. All right, so once you have your soil, the old soil, this is assuming you already have a bed, mixed, the next step would be to add, we're gonna have to add a little bit because when I took out those plants, you know, the roots absorbed some of the soil. So I got some more organic soil that we're gonna put on the top here. We're gonna mix it in. I want to get this level to be about here. So I'll do that now. So this is just a organic soil mix. That is very rich. Okay, so that's about enough. Then I'm just gonna blend it together. So if this is a new garden, you would just put all the different mixes that you want. If you're going to add extra perlite in there, it's a good idea. Add a little extra perlite, mix it in. If you have worm gold, mix in the worm gold with your soil. If you have some other cinders or something else. If you're potting in a not an enclosed surface and it's got air that's going to come through, say it's like a hanging basket or something like that, or it's going to dry out real quick, then you can add, instead of perlite, in addition to that, you can add in sphagnum moss or other materials to make it hold the moisture longer. So it just depends. For my tub, it's a little more. It only has one hole and it's way down at the bottom, which is great for Arizona. Okay, so for this summer, I'm doing pintas. These are summer plants that'll flower and produce all summer. They could stay around through frost, but probably won't keep them in there that long. So I'm going to do pintas in the center. That's going to be my taller plant, and then around the outside I've got pink vinca that I'll mass plant, and then calabrosia for the outside. It's real beautiful. It'll trail around around the outside. There's going to be a ton of color here. The pintas I chose are mixed, so there's red, pink, scarlet, a bunch of different colors. Now with potted outdoor annual, you want to be careful and pay attention to the root mass. You know, this one isn't too bad, but if there's a ton of roots, you want to scratch those off. And I'm just gonna itch in here. So I'm gonna mass plant these. They're gonna be basically, so what I would recommend usually doing in your home to allow space and oxygen is allow 6 inches between planting. We're gonna do about 4, so it's gonna be a little closer than normal, but that's because I'm trying to fill this up and have instant gratification. So I'm gonna do a square in the center, and then the outside I'm gonna do triangles. So square means they're just squared. So you do, like normally I would say you do 6 inch, so you do the next one here. I'm gonna do 4 so that they're kind of butted up there and fill this whole center up. One of the main things, very important, is that the tops of these plants are all the same. You don't want one to be really low and another one really tall. The really tall one's going to dry out. The really low one is going to get too much water. All right, so I'm going to plant this one here, trying to mix the colors. Okay, just going to do one more. It's got a little scratch the roots up a little bit. You can save the tags if you want. I don't. But if you're new to plants and you want to remember what you planted, put the tags there. Okay, these are done. So we're going to do one single color. So the idea is basically the pentas will be up a couple feet tall, and then we'll come down to the vinca and then run the crochet on the bottom. So on these, we're going to do in between, just like that. So basically, what I'm doing is, and these are, the roots aren't very catch yet, going in between each of these that I planted, in between each of the pentas that I planted, and I'm putting it right there. So here's one. Right, here's one, and here's another. Popping it right there. Go all the way around with these pentas, or around the pentas with the vinca. And if you notice, when I'm putting these in there, I'm pinching it in there pretty good. You want to pinch the soil and eliminate the air pockets around it. Not on the actual thing that you're planting, but in between. So not on the root ball that you're planting, but the actual in between plants. All right, so this is the last one here. So I have a couple more vinca. I might use them, but I want to put the calabrosha around the outside, and then if I need to, I'll plug some more vinca around here. Now I did a solid color of vinca in the middle to try to break it up, because the rest of these colors are very, very, very bright, and there's a ton of them. Lots of hints of colors, and the calabrosha is beautiful. So all these are summer flowers. These ones will a little bit of roots, but same thing. I'm going to go right in the center of the vinca. Pop that in there. Just work my way around the outside. One, I'm putting these in here. I'm going to try to mix them up pretty good. So I'm going to colors, split them up so that it goes one to another. Ooh, gorgeous, gorgeous. What I might have to do to make this work is, I want these to be around the outside, is I'll add another mica here so I can already see it. But now it's a lot harder to go backwards. That way. Pop this guy in here. This is one of the drains, so it goes down a little bit, but it's still pretty functional. So coming here, I'm going to pop it right here in between the two micas. Goes right there. When you do the triangular spacing, it all works out. So then it fills in the gaps. Doing it that way. So now that I've got most of it planted, I'm going to go around and pinch in between. I'm going to pinch in between all the plants and make sure that I got it all the same height and that the air pockets are eliminated. And if I need to add soil, I'll do that. Got a lot of plants in this little space. So normally you would allow a lot more space between. But for our space and like any resorts or anything like that, if we're trying to make it look that way, you're going to jam it in. But what happens is, without a little TLC or somebody watching over it, because eventually you'll have to thin some of this out, or you don't have enough oxygen going around, and it can cause some issues in your garden. So a little bit of soil there we need. So proper spacing generally will be 6 to 24 inches between flowers. So the pentas can be like 12. You could do 6-inch spacing on the mica. You can even do 12. And the calabrosha on the outside, usually you can do 24 inches because it's going to spread and fill that space. But I want this stuff to grow up crazy and then over the sides. And if I need to, I'll thin them out later. All right, I just had one spot right here that I goofed, fixed it. Just gonna get a little bit of soil in there. Once you get to this step, I'm gonna water these in, and then I'm gonna give them a little bit of Super Thrive. And then after that, I'm gonna let them root, take a couple weeks, and then after that, I'll give it its first dose. And you want to do, if you're doing microdosing, you do every couple weeks. If you're doing regular dosing, you do once a month. You want to begin with, you want a number that has, when you're using your fertilizer, have one that has the 3 numbers the same. But as you go and things are filling in, and you want to start blooming, the second number on your fertilizer, what fertilizer you use, encourages blooms and bud growth. So again, I'll put down in the link some fertilizers that I recommend. But that's what I would generally, no matter what you use, have something at first that's pretty balanced. It would be called. Where the numbers are the same, like 666, or
but if this brings you just a little
I shouldn't say that, I guess. 888, something like that, and then after that you want one with the little number that's large. All right, I'm going to water these in.
I hope that it will help you to do a better job.
So now that you got this planted, you're going to water about once a day. In the mornings is best, but if you're figure out what works for you. If you do institute a fertilizing program in your flowers, know that as they grow, they will require more water. So just keep that in mind as you're planting things. Hey, this is David with the Plant Bar. Thanks for watching and hanging out with me. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Plant Bar. And we thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.